it's time for one of our other favorite cultists, Peter Hanna. This episode in particular of his, which episode is this? Peter's Trump updates is particularly bonkers. So let's take a look. Bitter Grin says, I wish American cults had production values like that. I know. I gotta step their game up.
I want to find out what's going on. The Republican voter wants this story.
Welcome, Patriots. Majestic 12 has come out, and through reading all their posts, I've been able to confirm that some of my craziest ideas about how Trump's going to win are correct. And some of the information I've been saying about how Trump's going to win is incorrect. So, does Trump control...
Again, if you missed some of the previous episodes of the Peter saga, Peter is now following an account on Telegram that claims to be Majestic 12, which, if you don't know what Majestic 12 is, have you seen X-Files? You know the smoking man? He worked for Majestic 12. Have you seen Men in Black? That's Majestic 12. Majestic 12 is a fictional organization that conspiracy theorists made up that are basically just the Men in Black. They're a secret, clandestine government organization that deals with UFOs and alien technology and alien contact and stuff like that. So Peter believes that this anonymous online account is the Men in Black communicating with him and other QAnon people.
Control the U.S. military? Yes and no, depending on how you define U.S. military. My name is Peter Hanna. This is Peter's Trump Updates. Click on the subscription button in the bottom right corner of the screen so you can stay updated on when Trump's coming back, how he's coming back, how he's fighting, and all this exciting news. Now, if you...
Majestic 12 was shown in Umbrella Academy Season 2. Yeah. They're relatively common in fiction.
Stick around to the end of the video. I'll tell you what I know about who Majestic 12 are and where they're located. The truth will blow your mind, that's for sure. So,
they're again, clandestine secret government organization that no one knows exists. But Peter, unemployed pot smoker who lives with his parents in a cult in Pennsylvania, has cracked the code and knows exactly where their headquarters is. So, kind of makes every other intelligence agency in the world look really stupid.
Let me dive right into it. Majestic 12 was asked, is Trump going to use the U.S. military to take Biden out? And I talked about this previously, and Majestic 12 said no. And I was like, what? And they're like, well, how is Biden going to stop being president? And then Majestic 12 replied, World War III. And I'm like, what? But then they did another AMA, and they asked Majestic 12, is Trump using the U.S. military to defeat the deep state, at least? At least he's going to use the U.S. military for that? And then Majestic 12 said, no. And I'm just like, what?
This anonymous source that claims to hunt aliens and deal with aliens for a living is telling me that former President Donald Trump isn't going to do a military coup using the armed forces. What is happening? Pyromancer says the key to figuring it out was some dirt-laced CBD. He has an abundance of that. So, how old's Peter? I believe 32. I think 32.
And so people were like, what in the world? Trump's not using the U.S. military to fight the deep state?
It does look like he bought a new camera or something. He definitely comes in clear.
Because without the U.S. military behind Trump, how exactly is he going to win this war, right? So I was like, what? And all those people are like, what? So we kept digging, asking questions. And then the next question was, so exactly how is Trump going to defeat the deep state? What?
Guys, I want chat to guess for me. How do you think Majestic 12, the Men in Black organization, it's not really, of course, we know that, but, you know, how do you think they're going to claim that Donald Trump is going to defeat the deep state? Pyromancer says TV is missing. Maybe packed it up to move to Texas despite saying no. Could be. He would certainly lie to me directly. I have no delusions about that. But my theory was that he had to pawn it because he's doing that MLM thing. My theory was that in order to keep up with his orders, because there's like a minimum $160 order per month or something, in order to stay an affiliate of that MLM. I thought maybe he sold it so he could, buy his product for the month or whatever, but could be a move.
What's he using to defeat the deep state? And that was just the right question to ask, because Majestic 12 answered. Trump is using Majestic 12 and the Space Force.
So now Peter's hopes of a coup against the rightful leadership of the United States, which in the executive right now is Joe Biden, who was elected president, is that the Men in Black, in association with the Space Force, are going to somehow install Trump as dictator. Is it weirder than the things he believed before, or are we just laterally moving now at this point? It's hard to tell. Once he kind of hit that peak, I don't know. Diminishing returns on the crazy, I'd say. Hydrate. Okay. Pyromancer says, what's next? Trump is using Space Force to build a moon laser? That'd be cool. I want a moon laser.
To go ahead and defeat the deep state. Now, this is something that Majestic 12 has talked about before. Majestic 12 made a post saying that the Space Force will be fighting this war, as you can see. And Biden has no idea how to command the Space Force. So, when I said Trump controlled the U.S. military, I was right and I was
Peter,
wrong.
Listen. The Space Force is a thing that was recently made its own branch. Prior to that, it had a different name. It was a part of the Air Force. I forget. I think it was like Air Force Strategic Space Command or something along those lines, and then it got spun off into the Space Force. Similarly to how the United States Air Force, I believe, used to be part of the Army. I don't remember if it was the Army or the Navy. And then once, airplane usage in war became a bigger thing, they spun it off into the Air Force, right? Similar thing here. Space Force became its own thing. Space Force, however, does not have spaceships. They do not have fighter ships. They don't do that, Peter. Because it seems to me that you're thinking some sort of Star Wars thing here where you're like, Space Force is going to come in with their X-Wings and they're gonna stop Biden. No. Space Force mostly deals with, technology, engineering for space stuff, satellites, intelligence using satellites and cyber systems and stuff. I sound like Mike Lindell, cyber systems. But seriously, they do IT and stuff. They have all sorts of stuff going on. But they don't have spaceships that they're going to use to take over the government, if I need to say that. Mike Mack says, Space Force is run by Michael from The Office. I actually haven't seen that show on Netflix.
Apparently, when talking about the U.S. military, I assumed that...
And by the way, I'm not even saying that'll always be the case. I would imagine 50, 60 years from now, I don't even know how long, no one's good at judging time scales for technology. Someday Space Force will probably actually have... Oh god, I hate that they call them this. They call members of the Space Force Guardians. I hate that. I hope they change it someday. I would imagine someday there will be active duty Guardians who actually do have fucking spaceships or whatever and go into low Earth orbit to do whatever things they do. Horrifying future battles. I have no idea. But they don't right now, and they're not gonna for the foreseeable future. Storm Fox says, Peter loves the idea that Trump can end anyone anywhere at any time, but he definitely wants a peaceful coup. Obviously.
Included the Space Force. That's not what's being implied by Majestic 12, because when they asked, is the U.S. military being used to fight the deep state? Majestic 12 said no. But then Majestic 12 said the Space Force is being used to fight this war and fight the deep state. So...
That's a contradiction anyway, because the Space Force is part of the armed services. Von Tuck says, fun fact, Guardians is the name for soldiers in Gilead. I wonder if some weirdo did that on purpose. Yikes. Gilead, for those who don't know, is the dystopian, fascist, ethno-Christian nationalist place in A Handmaid's Tale. It's basically America after it gets taken over by right-wing fascists. Thrashmeo says, space debris is bad enough without blowing crap up. Yeah.
I guess the Space Force is not really part of the U.S. military.
It is. It literally is. They have a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff that's a Space Force person now. John Fallon, thanks for subscribing for 9 months. Stream baby. This baby's name is Pietro Quadoba. Pietro Quadoba.
This also brings up a lot of questions like, is Biden commanding the U.S. military, or
Yes, he's the commander-in-chief of the military. That's how the presidency works.
if Trump's not commanding them, can they rebel? Can they disobey orders? I don't have the answer to that. But seeing how the U.S. military has been acting heroically, I have a feeling that Biden doesn't have that much control of the U.S. military. But Trump's not commanding the U.S. military either, which means maybe their generals are, and the Pentagon is commanding it, and they're kind of on Trump's side. Who knows?
Occam's razor. No, Joe Biden is the president, ergo, he's in control of the military as per the Constitution.
But what's interesting is that I knew for a fact that if Trump didn't have the Space Force or U.S. military or anything, it was game over for us. There's no way he could win this war. So that's why I kept saying, Trump commands the U.S. military, Trump commands the U.S. military, because I knew Trump would not just let go of all military power.
That's not up to him, Peter. Peter, I don't think you understand how the transfer of power works in the United States. Trump does not have to voluntarily say, okay, I'm no longer in control of the military. It doesn't matter. They could have drug him out of the Oval Office kicking and screaming. It wouldn't matter. At noon on January 20th, the powers of the president transfer to the winner of the election, which was Joe Biden. At noon on the 20th, Donald Trump lost all executive power. Period. End of story. He doesn't have to relinquish it. That's not any... Read the Constitution, Peter. My God. Mike Max says, Peter is so gullible, like that guy that thought Obama was involved in 9/11 shown in the Trevor Noah show. I know, it's so bad. Color by Emmy says, missed a few beats. WTF is Majestic 12, the Men in Black, but he thinks they're real. Ilium Gal says, talking about religious conspiracy theories and fictional government organizations that deal with aliens, the co-creator of Doctor Who's Brigadier, Lethbridge Stewart, leader of UNIT, helped to come up with the conspiracy theory that Christ had children with Mary Magdalene and was covered up by the Catholic Church, as later ripped on by Dan Brown, author of the Da Vinci Code. Interesting.
Because if he had no military power whatsoever, he would lose. It'd be end of the United States. It'd be end of the world. So,
you wonder if Peter ever took a civics course? Peter is in a cult. He was raised in a cult. So he may have been homeschooled. I have no idea, though. I'll ask him next time we talk.
I knew, because Team Trump is very, very intelligent, they would not let go of all that power. So what they did, it appears, is maybe
they don't have an option, Peter. That's not how it works.
They did let go of some of the power to command the U.S. military, but they kept the most important and powerful.
I like the idea that Donald Trump leaving the door, on that day, and he goes, and they go, okay, Donald, the storm is coming, the plan is on its way. All right, which parts of the armed services do you want? And he's like, I don't need the Navy. I hate the Navy. I don't like getting wet. I hate the Air Force. I don't want Air Force. I don't like the Army. John McCain was in the Army. Fuck the Army. Space Force. I just want Space Force. I made the Space Force. That's the only one I need. And he lets go of all the other branches of the military, but not Space Force. Brilliant strategy. Lily Lovestuff says, my friend who grew up in the same cult, was homeschooled, but her brothers all went to public school. That's very strange. Stormfox says, I can actively see Peter do mental gymnastics backwards to prove his point. I know, it's frustrating.
Powers, which is the Space Force. And I'll tell you why the Space Force is so powerful.
He's gonna say alien technology. I'm calling it now.
If If I were to choose, honestly, I think the Space Force is 10 times more powerful than like a billion soldiers.
It's a running theme that I talk about Peter, and I talk about the fact that he thinks like a child. Like his I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. It just feels like there's a genuine case of arrested development here in the way he views the world. Like, think about what he just said and pretend it came out of the mouth of like a 12-year-old. It makes way more sense if a 12-year-old says something like, I think space, like imagine they're arguing with their friends on the bus or something. The Space Force is so cool because space is awesome, and space with aliens, they have alien technology, and they're probably the bestest and better than like a billion soldiers. Like, that's child mentality. That's immature mentality. That's not how adults think. And he's out here, a full-grown adult with 3 kids, being like, yep, this is a legitimate political commentary right here. A bajillion. You know what? It's better than a bajillion soldiers, Peter. Mike Mack says, Peter, Trump will return on August. Also, Peter, when Trump doesn't return in August, it's all part of the plan. Trust the plan. I'm so excited for the end of August. It's going to be glorious.
I know it sounds like exaggeration, but the thing is, I don't know, because I've been
honestly, hopefully I'll be moved
or
or moving during August, and then hopefully, like, I can just chill in my new office wherever it is, and, like, I don't know, just really, really enjoy Peter having a mental breakdown. I think that'll be a nice end of summer treat for me. I don't know.
Aliens exist. Aliens have been trading technology with us, and the Space Force is where like 95% of all the alien technology that United States government has, United States military has, is in the Space Force.
Why do you think that? Why do you think aliens are real? And don't tell me your anecdotes about, I've been abducted by aliens. A lot of people have claimed to be abducted by aliens. I don't believe them, and I don't believe you. In fairness, I think you believe it. I don't think you're outright lying. I just think you're delusional. You have no evidence that aliens even exist, much less that they visited Earth, much less that they're involved in this organization, Majestic 12, much less that they've given technology to them, much less that they're working with Space Force, much less that Space Force is working with Trump, much less that Trump is going to take over with Space Force in August. Do you see how many levels of just made-up bullshit you have to go through just to debunk it? Like, it's not even pure delusion at this point, because delusion at least has one toe in reality, right? Like, you might think weird things about reality, but you're still in it. Peter is not operating on this plane of existence at this point. He's in a complete fantasy world. Dankherm, thanks for 20 bits.
The Space Force has technology to, for example, locate any human on Earth, and to, from what I understand, kill any human on Earth with some type of satellite or laser. Or
oh my god, he really thinks it's a space laser. Jilly Foo, thanks for subscribing for 2 months. Guys, if all of a sudden the stream ever goes down and a big flash of light, then the Space Force got me with the laser. So. Pyromancer says, called it. You're right. You did call it. Space laser.
I don't know, gives people a heart attack or cancer, whatever.
It's a space laser that gives you a heart attack or cancer. Well, according to Peter, weed cures everything. So I'm going to go to the dispensary and buy all the weed, and I'm going to smoke it constantly. That way, if the deep state tries to, or no, not the deep state. That way, if Majestic 12 tries to kill me with a heart attack or cancer, I'll be smoking the dank ganja, and I'll be immune. Take that, Peter. You've revealed all your secrets to the deep state. Now the deep state's just gonna be high all the time, and they'll be protected from the alien space laser, you fool. Dankherm says, pretty rad way to die, not gonna lie. Jilly Foo says, guess Peter's parents took the laptop charger too now. Pyromancer says, need a weed foil hat. And then Wing the Ultimate Nug subscribes for 12 months, says 1 year of Hannah is not enough Hannah. Well, I'll be here for a while. Don't worry, I'm not done yet. Mike Mack says, don't these people know how energy and light work? He probably saw Omni-Man being attacked by a laser and thought it was real.
The point is just the fact that Trump commands a space force, which means he can track all enemies at all times and kill any of them at any point.
That sounds like, and this is the weird thing to me. Peter says this like he'd be happy about it. If such a weapon existed, I would be horrified regardless of who had control over that weapon. A precision strike to kill anyone on Earth at any time and also to locate them at any time, which is literally the weapon from, hold on. In the episode Mirror Mirror from Star Trek, the original series, Evil Kirk had... I don't want that. I want the thing that Kirk... What the heck is it called? There was a name for the weapon. Anyway, Evil Kirk had a weapon on his ship that allowed him to, like, type in someone's name, and it would find them on a ship, and he could immediately disintegrate anyone on the ship at any time. It's like that, but on a global scale. Evil Kirk was not the good guy in that episode, Peter. You're not supposed to think someone unilaterally having the power to murder anyone with no evidence. You're not supposed to root for that guy and go, yay! Tantalus device, thank you. Bitter Grin says, if Trump could kill anyone at any time, then why are any of his enemies still alive? Why is CNN still standing, right? Hillary Clinton would be dead. Joe Biden would be dead. Mike Mack says, USA has a laser, yet still in war in the Middle East for 20 years. That was just for funsies. That's a hobby, you know?
He basically is the most powerful person on Earth right now.
I find it interesting, and I don't know if there's any correlation here, but I'm going to keep an eye on it as we continue watching Peter in the coming months. The further away we get from the election and inauguration, and the more obvious it gets to everyone that, you know, the QAnon stuff is nonsense. Of course, it already was to us anyway, but the longer it gets away, it gets more and more obvious to most people that this is all just bullshit. But the further away we get from the inauguration, the more desperate Peter seems to get in order to try and bolster Trump as a more and more powerful figure in his model of the world. Because he has to in order to explain the increasingly slim odds of Trump coming back. You know what I mean? Because if Trump is gone for, it's been 5 months now, or it's been 6 months now, apologies. Trump's not been president for 6 months. Why hasn't he done anything if he has all this power? Wow, he must be really, really powerful if he's biding his time and waiting this long. This has to be the rationalization he comes up with, because the real explanations are untenable to him, because it would mean admitting he's been wrong this whole time and that Trump is just a guy. So instead he goes the other way. Trump is the most powerful man on Earth. He can kill anyone at any time. That's why he's not worried about this. It's very, very strange. I'll be sorry in August, Hannah. I'm sorry most of the time. I have severe self-esteem issues. Dan Kerm says, deep breathing noises. He's planning something. Just wait. Overdoses on copium.
At least Team Trump is. Now, from what I'm hearing, reading Majestic 12 posts, is that Trump isn't the mastermind behind all this. He is the brand. He's like the spokesperson on behalf of Team God, who's saving the world and all that.
I would find a better spokesperson if I were God than Donald Trump.
But the mastermind behind this whole winning this war is actually Majestic 12. And that's very interesting when you find out who Majestic 12 are and where they're located. I mean, down the rabbit hole we go, right? So Majestic 12 is actually, as you could say, Trump's handlers in a sense. They're the people giving Trump orders. Trump is not the mastermind. Majestic 12 is the most powerful.
I wonder if part of this, and part of what he's saying right now, is a justification to almost pre-move the goalposts. Because obviously Donald Trump's an older guy. He's not in good shape. He's under a lot of stress, probably, because he's a narcissist, and that's an incredibly stressful way to live. I wonder if he's already starting to move the goalposts and saying, Donald Trump is the most powerful man on Earth, but really he's being handled by Majestic 12 so that when Donald Trump passes away, probably of natural causes, then he can say, well, Majestic 12 was really in charge the whole time, and now they have a new person. And then he and the other Q people will, you know, latch on to whatever the next fashy figurehead is in the Republican Party, and they'll continue basically the same as they have been, just putting someone else in the place of Trump. That would be bad.
Powerful organization on Earth. They're the masterminds. Trump is one of their assets, as you can say, and they're using the technology of the Space Force. Now, on top of the ability to track every single human and kill any human that they want, the Space Force also has alien spaceships, incredible technologies. If I were to guess, everything I've told you about what the Space Force has is what I know for sure they have.
You know for sure they have alien spaceships. What do you think for sure means, Peter?
But if I were to guess, the Space Force also has technology to read everyone's mind, anyone's mind that they want, and the Space Force can control people.
I feel like they're going to read my mind and it's just going to be the Me channel music on a loop. Doon, doo, doon, doon, doo, doon, doon, doon. Doo, doo, doon, doon, doo, doon, doon, doon.
Control their mind and get them to do things. So, if this is true, all Trump needs is the Space Force. Even if you have, like, all planet Earth, like every person on planet Earth is a soldier and they're all fighting the Space Force would still win.
Can we not genocide the Earth, Peter? I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. Von Tug says Space Force doesn't have a cancer laser, but maybe they have a cancer gin? What is this? Oh, it's from Wishmaster. I can't play the clip because movie. I haven't seen Wishmaster in a long, long time.
Because Space Force can kill anyone, track everyone, probably read everyone's mind, control anyone.
Kind of sounds like they're the deep state then, Peter. If they're in complete control and can read anyone's mind and kill anyone at any time, kind of sounds like they're the bad guys, right? Good guys don't do that.
And they got all these spaceships and incredible alien technology. So, it's interesting. At first, I was like, oh, Trump doesn't control the U.S. military. He's not using the fight. Oh, no, we're doomed. But then I was like, oh, we got the Space Force. We got this in the bag. Because that's where the alien tech is. He's got all the new fancy, powerful, beyond our imagination technology. Some of which is time travel technology, from what I hear. Definitely time travel technology. Majestic 12 could do...
Definitely time travel technology. 100%. Technology that we don't even know could possibly theoretically exist. Peter knows for sure that it exists and that the Men in Black are working with the aliens in order to use this time travel technology to somehow put Trump in as dictator 8 months after the election. Okay, genius.
Did confirm that
Adia Blue says, time travel is the worst kind of sci-fi. Debate me. How dare you? Time travel is my favorite subgenre of sci-fi, and sci-fi is my favorite genre of fiction. So I will fight you. And guess what? I have a space laser too.
That two of the powerful assets or tools being used to fight this war is people with powerful psychic abilities like telepathy and remote viewing, and also
Peter, people don't have psychic abilities. Don't exist, Peter. Stormfox999 says, didn't Peter threaten to sue you for saying he wants his political enemies dead? He did. And here he is talking all about how Space Force can murder anyone on Earth at any time for any reason based on their thoughts. Cool.
Quantum computing. So remember when I said there's Team Trump has this quantum computer, and they're like analyzing things strategically by putting data in, and then the quantum computer analyzes like what's going to be the counter move by the deep state. So
it's a quantum computer. It's a Dell from the 90s that they slapped a sticker on that says quantum. And they just have Trump type things into the email, and they send it to some intern, and the intern has to reply like they're a quantum computer. Yes, Mr. Trump, this is your quantum computer. It's excellent. This is the greatest piece of technology I think I've ever seen. This is amazing. This is the best. This is why we hire the best, okay? Oh, great. Well, Mr. Trump, my bill will be in the mail. Here's the thing. You're doing a great service to your country. You'll be seeing my lawyers. What? Sorry, I cannot pay. I'm not very liquid right now. My taxes are under audit from the IRS. Pyromancer says, Peter, when people say they can remote view, they're probably talking about a computer remote access.
It's basically a computer that helps them come out with the perfect strategy. I was right about that, and I was right about the psychic powers. And
I'm surprised he hasn't brought up, like, if I'm a crazy person and I'm coming up with something like this, I say, like, you know, it's like in Avengers Endgame when Doctor Strange had to let them lose for a little while because there was only one true path to victory, and it involved losing for 5 years and then coming back. It was the one option. This is that. But he doesn't say that. You can have that one for free, Peter.
And you're going to find out I was right about other stuff as well. But this is very exciting because that's all we need. All we need is Trump to control some aspect of the U.S. military, which in this case is just the Space Force, which is the most important aspect. And it's interesting that Biden doesn't know how to command the Space Force. So it's kind of like, I was wondering, you know, when Trump wasn't president anymore and Biden was president, I was like, what's going on here?
So you're now admitting that Biden is president and Trump is not. That's an evolution. Pyromancer says, also, Hannah, I blame you for Peter's new quantum computer fixation. I just asked him about it, okay? He brought up quantum computers, and I was like, define a quantum computer for me. What do you think a quantum computer does? That's not on me.
If Biden controls the entire U.S. military, including the Space Force, and Trump doesn't, it's game over.
It's game over. There you go. Does Space Force have a website? They must, like a spaceforce.gov. Spaceforce.mil, military. Cool. About us, about Space Force. Mission. Office of the Chief of Space Operations, Space Force Organization, Space Force symbols, space capabilities, history. What's the mission of Space Force? The USSF is a military service that organizes, trains, and equips space forces in order to protect the U.S. and allied interests in space and to provide space capabilities to the joint force. USSF responsibilities include developing Guardians, again, that's what they call the soldiers, acquiring military space systems, maturing the military doctrine for space power, and organizing space forces to present to our combatant commands. Billy SC137, thanks for subscribing with a 3-month streak, says, hi everyone, hope everyone's well. I'm doing pretty good. How are you? Space capabilities? Let's see what this says. The new independent U.S. Space Force will maintain and enhance the competitive edge of the DoD in space, that's the Department of Defense, while adapting to new strategic challenges. Spacelift operations at the East and West Coast launch bases provide services, facilities, and range safety control for the conduct of the Department of Defense, NASA, and commercial space launches. So it looks like they're either building or doing launch sites, or building. They're probably building or maintaining launch sites. Through the command and control of all Department of Defense satellites, satellite operators provide force-multiplying effects, continuous global coverage, low vulnerability, and autonomous operations. Satellites provide essential in-theater secure communications, weather, and navigational data for ground, air, and fleet operations, and threat warning. So they handle the Department of Defense's array of satellites for various operational services and stuff within the military, within all of the armed services, rather. Ground-based and space-based systems monitor ballistic missile launches around the world to guard against a surprise missile attack on North America. A global network of space surveillance sensors provide vital information on the location of satellites and space debris from the nation and the world. Maintaining space superiority is an emerging capability required to protect the U.S. space assets from hostile attack. So basically, they're in very early phases of any of this stuff. Right now, they're working on launch sites for future projects that they're probably going to do in tandem with, like, SpaceX and Boeing. And then they're maintaining the Department of Defense's satellite grid. Again, like, that's great. That's fine. We could talk about the armed services as a whole and my opinions on the military, but that's not really what we're here for. The Space Force is not a group of people hanging out in their X-Wings flying around in space. It's engineers and other people with military experience working on technology related to space. They are not hanging out in space currently. Daylight Reckoning, thank you for subscribing for 5 months.
So, like, how is this part of the plan? How is this part of the strategy? So it's just so interesting that Trump was like, oh, we'll let Biden be president.
Space forces to fight against space ISIS, don't you know? I don't know. Thanks for letting me know. Field Weddle says, talking about conspiracies.
I've been sleeping on my
oh, God.
pillows for some time. I love them.
This is Rudy Giuliani doing a My Pillow ad.
Simply the very best pillows ever made. But I just found out that they also have a wide assortment of other incredible products like their mattress toppers, sheets, towels, and slippers, and more.
Yikes. Shmoop B, thanks for subscribing for 6 months.
We'll let him be president, don't worry. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a new military branch called the Space Force. It's going to have the most powerful technology. It's going to be the most powerful area of the entire military.
There aren't even that many people in Space Force. Hold on. How many members of Space Force? There are only 4,840 personnel working for the Space Force. Space Force is the smallest U.S. armed service, consisting of under 5,000 personnel and operating 77 spacecraft including satellites. So, no, just for reference, how many people are in the Air Force? So under 5,000 people are in Space Force. There are 329,000 active duty personnel in the Air Force, for reference. Do you see the issue? Mike Mack says, you know Trump is an idiot. Even Joker knew how to pay his taxes. I mean, that's how Al Capone was caught. Yep.
I guess they don't consider it part of the U.S. military, but I still do. It's going to be the most powerful thing, and I'm not going to tell Biden how to command it, how to control it. As far as Biden knows, he has no way to command them, control them, look for them, contact them. Trump controls this most powerful military branch. So this is very exciting news. I'm just so happy to hear that he's going to slay it with the Space Force. And so,
literally with a laser.
You got this far in the video. I'm going to tell you, because remember, Majestic 12 said Trump is fighting the deep state with the Space Force and Majestic 12. It's a very interesting statement because Majestic 12 is an incredible asset. Why? Well, I'll tell you why right now. No one in the Majestic 12 organization is a human being. They're not Earthlings. They're all aliens. I know that sounds crazy.
You don't say. Jilly Foo says aliens, huh? And Cool Cat says best plot twist this season. Tube Man says, I remember getting into an argument with a guy in one of my old raid groups who said we needed to get troops into space so China doesn't take control of space. He was dead serious and had to yell at him about how that would be stupid. And Stormfox says, fun fact, Joker hates Nazis. Look it up. I actually know that.
But we're going down the rabbit hole. On top of that...
Hats off? Okay, I'm not changing the hat, though. I'm putting on glasses, because that is included in hats off. I can add glasses.
The Majestic 12 organization is not located on Earth. They're located on the moon base. The moon is actually a spaceship. I know we're going down the rabbit hole.
Mr. Peter Hanna, I have so many questions. Pyromancer says still called it, I guess. So the moon's a spaceship. That's no moon.
But this stuff's gonna be released anyways. I'm okay with it.
Hydrate.
The moon is not a natural satellite. If you look...
Except it is. Except it is. The moon is a natural satellite of our planet. It's the moon.
Look at it. Our moon is the only moon ever discovered ever in all of the galaxy or whatever that doesn't rotate. It goes around the Earth, but it's locked on, which...
It's called tidal locking, you idiot. There's a word for it, and no, Earth's moon is not the only satellite to have tidal locking. Stormfox says, Doctor Who taught me the moon is an egg. Your move, Peter. It's true, it's a dragon egg. Cotton Candy says, this is definitely a rabbit hole, but it's certainly not the one he thinks. Okay. Examples of tidal locking. Pluto and Charon are an extreme example of tidal lock. Charon is a relatively large moon in comparison to its primary, and also has a very close orbit. This results in Pluto and Charon being mutually tidally locked. The top example of tidal locking isn't even Earth's moon. Peter, not only does tidal locking exist elsewhere in the universe, it exists within our solar system. You absolute idiot. Spend 5 seconds Googling something before you make a statement. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go with the QAnon line. Do your own research. Fucking do research then, Peter. Then do research and learn the most basic fact about the universe, you dumb shit. Jilly Foo says, we need the Hannah and Hannah show. It's just Peter talking about aliens and you laughing. I'd watch. Mike Mack says, Peter, Star Wars isn't real. The Death Star is fake. And the Poetic Fox says, Peter, what the fuck? Peter, please, just fucking stop. You need help. You need to be out in the world. What the fuck? I believe this is what the kids would usually respond with. Touch grass, Peter? Is normally the appropriate response to saying the moon is a spaceship.
Which is basically impossible.
You want what Peter is smoking? No, you don't. It's CBD he made at home, full of dirt and isopropyl alcohol. You definitely don't want it.
Also, because of the
we watched him make it the other day.
Location of the moon close to Earth, if that was actually a satellite, the gravity of Earth would pull the moon right into Earth and would explode. So,
do you know how satellites work? It's in orbit. It's in orbit, Peter. Do you know what an orbit is? Something being a satellite does not mean it's going to crash into Earth. If it's in a stable orbit, then it very much will not do that.
That itself tells you that the moon is not a natural, normal satellite. The fact that it doesn't rotate on its axis.
It does. It just does so at the same rate that the Earth rotates, thus tidal locking. You don't even know what you're talking about, and you're talking with such confidence.
And the fact that it's too close to Earth.
It's not. It's not too close to Earth. It's It's the distance it is from Earth, and it is in a stable orbit.
That it would actually crash into Earth if it was just a natural satellite. So the moon is, as I've just provided, it's evidence for it's not a normal satellite. It's a spaceship. That's how it's locked on. That's how it's able to repel Earth's gravity and stay close to Earth, but far away enough that it's not doing any damage. It's not crashing into Earth. So Majestic 12, and actually...
H. Baird says, you laugh now, Hannah, but when Peter gets into his X-Wing and blows up the moon, who will be laughing? I think in this case, I have to get an X-Wing and blow up the moon. Because the moon is the QAnon people, right?
Any species of aliens do have military bases on the moon. Majestic 12 is an organization of hundreds, if not maybe, I think about, if I were to guess, maybe like hundreds, maybe like 100 or 200, something like that.
Lily Love Stuff with 20 bits says, I mean, the moon is moving away from the Earth, so Peter is extra wrong.
Of
very slowly, it is.
Aliens that are working with Trump. So what's interesting is I said...
aliens from other solar systems are very interested in American nationalism. That makes sense. Von Tuck says, a spaceship covered in dirt and ore deposits. Those aliens make weird design choices.
Good aliens are working with Trump to help save the world. And the reaction I got from a lot of people was like, oh, that's crazy. Aliens don't exist. That doesn't make sense. And here we have Majestic 12, the ultimate source of information, saying, yes,
no,
we are Majestic.
Peter, to be clear, this is a random account on Telegram that is claiming to be Majestic 12, which is an organization that doesn't exist.
Majestic 12, we're working with the Space Force and Trump to save the world. And Majestic 12, we are all aliens. So it's like, oh, so I was right, huh? So this is very exciting. I did get a little bit wrong. He doesn't command all the U.S. military. And he does command the Space Force. So when I said I was right that he commands the U.S. military and I was wrong that he doesn't command all of it. I was right that he commands the most important, powerful, the Space Force. So
no, you're not right about any of this. In August, you're gonna cry. And that doesn't make me happy, Peter. It doesn't make me happy to see you in pain. But I really, really am concerned about you, and I'm afraid you're gonna, murder your family or something. This is not an accusation, Peter. I'm telling you, I'm worried about you, that at a certain point you are going to realize that all the QAnon stuff is bullshit, and you've been basing your life on a lie for, years, and you're gonna, snap and murder your family. And I don't want you to do that, Peter, so please don't. Jilly Foo says, Peter gets all 10s in mental gymnastics. He always sticks the landing.
We're still winning. We're still going to win. We have a lot of power. The future is very exciting. I'm so glad that I'm right about Majestic 12 being benevolent aliens working with us, because aliens are extremely intelligent. The ones that are interacting with Earth are extremely intelligent. So to have...
How would you even know, Peter? God, Candy says you need to stop smoking those chemicals.
A team of extremely intelligent, righteous aliens, an organization called Majestic 12, helping Trump in combination with the most advanced alien technology on Earth to fight this war. Boom, we got it in the bag. It's going to be okay. Now, I know this sounds very, very crazy, but watch Fox News. I know it sounds weird to say, but watch Fox News, watch the mainstream media. They're talking a lot about UFOs lately. Alien disclosure is happening. I know for a lot of...
They were talking about UFOs because the military basically said, yeah, sometimes we see stuff that we don't know what it is. And then everyone's like, oh my god, it's aliens. Because the media is stupid and depends on clickbait to exist.
Christians, it's hard to believe. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I go to church. I tithe. I'm still being abducted by aliens. I still believe in aliens. I've been abducted by good aliens, bad aliens. I've been abducted multiple times by aliens. Most aliens believe in God, by the way. So you can believe in God and be a Christian and tithe.
Peter, while you were abducted, did you get a chance to talk theology with the aliens? Because I guess we need to cover that the next time we talk. You apparently know most aliens are religious. Rublum says, I kind of want to see the size of the rabbit who dug this hole.
I then go to church and believe in aliens. It's not one or the other. I know that there isn't a single religion out there, including mine, that says aliens exist and they're people and they live on other planets and they've been visiting us. And so because when people believe in aliens, they stop believing in religion because they're like, you didn't tell us about aliens. But really, just be a little forgiving, okay? Religion.
He's just the all-knowing creator of the universe, okay? How is he supposed to remember that he created countless other species throughout the universe and put that in our holy book? Cut him some slack. Two Man says, so is Peter gonna pilot the Turn a Gundam and fight the moon race? I don't know Gundam things. I don't know Gundam stuff.
Religions have their role in teaching us morality, but just because they got one thing wrong doesn't mean everything they say is wrong, you know. So long story short, aliens are real. Alien disclosure is happening. What I'm saying may sound far-fetched to some, but the reality is next month in June, or I guess this is going to be released in June, maybe June 1st, but June, which is June is now. When you're watching this, it'll be June. This month, Congress is going to release everything they know about UFOs. Sorry, the government's going to release everything they know about UFOs and tell it to Congress. A lot of that's information to get out, so...
Mike Mack says, Peter's a Scientologist, confirmed. Overthought says, yes, but what intergalactic head of the church is the true leader? Spider Space Pope from South Park or the Alligator Pope from Futurama? Cotton Candy 903 says the rabbit must be heat and pressure proof because it's dug straight through the center of the earth. Von Tuck says the Bronze Age collapse. The Dark Ages, the founding of 8chan. Title of some books in the future about bad times, probably.
We are in an
I really think that... Now, I shouldn't opine about stuff like that. No one knows. Oh, okay, I will, but I'll do it with the caveat knowing that, no one can predict the future and the way that future generations, if humans continue to exist, I hope we do, there's no way of knowing what perspective they're going to look back and view us from. There's just no way. So, what's the point? But I would imagine this era is probably going to be known as the misinformation era. The time when humans gained access to more information than ever before, but we didn't yet understand how to parse the information and make accurate assertions as to the veracity of the various claims being thrown at us constantly. I don't know what the solution is, but hopefully the people in the future will have some sort of answer. If you do, and you're watching this from the future, because obviously all my streams got put in a time capsule and sent to Venus at some point in the future. Hi, how are you? How's your space pills today? I hope they tasted delicious, and I'm sorry for people like Peter. Are his great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren okay? I hope they have better education and aren't in a gun cult.
Accelerated course towards disclosure of aliens, and it's going to be very gentle and very subtle, but eventually we're going to find out that aliens live among us, aliens have been helping us and harming us and abducting us and doing good stuff and bad stuff, and there's all a big experiment going on. I'm getting into all the alien stuff in my show, Peter Sky High Politics, where I explain politics from a really high perspective, like exopolitics, which is the politics plus aliens is exopolitics. There's very complicated stuff going on here, guys.
I also would have accepted xenopolitics. Thank you, Peter.
It's not that simple. It's actually incredibly complex. That's why I created my Peter Sky High Politics, where I'm going to talk about how aliens have been impacting politics over hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yes, please, Peter. Give me some of that sweet, sweet alien conspiracy action.
And it's fascinating, and that'll give you the sky high perspective on what's going on there. But for this update, just know that I've gotten some stuff wrong, but the main stuff that I've been saying is correct. Trump is winning. He'll be back this year. He'll be president again very soon. He controls the most powerful part of the U.S. military. Good aliens are working with him. I've been right about all these things, confirmed by my Majestic 12. And if you want to learn more about Majestic 12, in the link in the description below, you can link to their Telegram. And if you've gotten this far in this video, I just want to point out that the way that Telegram works is that you can have a handle which is your page where you post stuff. And then in the comment section, for some reason, people have a different handle. So Majestic 12's handle is ISBEES, which is Immortal Soul Biological Entity. And they have a Trump winking profile picture.
Well, that's terrible branding. Pyromancer says, Peter admitting he was wrong just makes him more credible, obviously.
But when I show these,
I do want to put the caveat, it does make you, admitting that you were wrong in the past, because everyone gets things wrong, does make you more credible in the sense that you're trustworthy. I trust that you will go back and admit when you were wrong about something. It, however, does not make you accurate in your claims, because if you keep having to do that, it just means you're wrong a lot. But it's good to be honest about your mistakes, regardless.
Images of, Majestic 12 said that, Majestic 12 said this, and it shows like a Trump winking with the name Isby's on it. You're like, what? That's
Typists are human, and someone says, what's a typist? A person who types things. I wonder if this person is a boomer, whoever's running that account, because most people don't use the word typists anymore. It's kind of an old way of talking about, sort of back in the day when you used to have to take notes on a typewriter. People who ran typewriters for people, and sometimes if you were like an executive assistant or whatever, and you had to like take a letter or whatever, you would be called a typist. But normally that's not the nomenclature we use these days, so I wonder if the person running that account's older. Maybe I'm reading too far into the specific wording.
Majestic 12, what? It is. That's Majestic 12. For some reason they chose that. They talk a lot about Isbys, which are immortal, spiritual, biological entities, which is what we are. So, long story short, these are...
Would I be interested in doing a vid on Operation Underground Railroad? It's a QAnon-adjacent anti-trafficking organization that engaged in all sorts of shady and incompetent stuff and has close ties to the Trump administration. Sure.
Authentic posts by an organization of aliens that are helping us save the world, and they are located on the moon. I know, sounds crazy. Most people won't believe me. That's okay. I'm used to being ahead of the world in many ways when it comes to the truth. I'm always crazy, and then the world catches up, and they're like, oh.
Peter, what have you been right about so far? What is the world caught up with you on? Please enlighten me in your ways, Peter.
Oh, Peter wasn't that crazy. He was just ahead of his times. So, thank you, Majestic 12. Thank you for watching, and I hope this cheers you up and lets you guys know what's really going on. And I'm looking forward to posting a lot of Peter Sky High politics videos where I'm going to show you what's really going on and how aliens have been interacting with politics. Because aliens have been all over politics. Politics is more about aliens than it really is even humans.
Would that be okay if that were the case, Peter? Because I don't think it would be. It's also not the case, though, so it's fine.
You really find out how much interaction is going on. Anyway, I'll get into that in Peter Sky High Politics. Check out in the description below. I have a CBD company that I'm affiliated with. Amazing CBD products. Their CBD oil I highly recommend, and their coffee. I've used both. I just love them. I'm allowed to call them supplements, even though they're more than supplements. But
Peter, when you do that, you're breaking the rules. You're breaking the law. But you're also breaking the rules of the MLM. If I or anyone else reported you to them, they will fire you. Fire implies you're an employee. They will stop you from being an affiliate. Stop it. Lampshading saying that by saying, I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm gonna say this, doesn't mean you didn't say that. Again, this child mentality of if I lampshade it, then I can't get in trouble. Rublum says, Hannah, I don't want what Peter's smoking anymore. Good call.
Anyway, amazing supplements. I absolutely love them, and I recommend you check out those supplements. I appreciate it. You guys are patriots. Thank you for donating. Thank you for watching.
Jesus Christ. Peter. He's doing a live AMA on Sunday.
Hey everyone, I'm doing an AMA Sunday
Oh, his monitor's back in this video.
at 11 a.m. Join me and we can talk about politics, God, religion, aliens, whatever you want. I'd like to open up. I'll be an open book and you can ask me anything you want. All right, thank you and join me there.
H. Baird says, fun fact, there's a group of senior citizens, advisors to the government. They're called the Jasons, and they don't do anything UFO related. It may be the genesis of Majestic 12. Interesting. Am I going to join the AMA? Probably not. It's at 11 a.m. I don't want to talk to Peter in the morning. Alright, so that's Peter. Still delusional. Very sad.